Think about it. Long before the massive spectacle of the Super Bowl halftime shows, way before the high-flying highlights of the NBA, and honestly, entirely before televisions were even a thing, there was one game that completely captured the heart of a country. A game that literally survived the brutal reality of the American Civil War, helped unite a seriously divided nation, and gave us these absolutely larger-than-life legends. We're talking, of course, about America's pastime. So let's jump right into this explainer and explore the fascinating and sometimes pretty surprising history of baseball. Right off the bat, pun absolutely intended, we need to shatter a little bit of nostalgia here. I want to ask you the central question directly. Who really invented baseball? Now, if you pressed most fans, they might vaguely credit some Civil War hero or maybe a bored farmer in a field. But is it possible that everything we've been told about the origins of this massive sport is actually a total myth? Let's look at the facts.
All right, Section 1, the creation myth and Doubleday's legend.
For well over a century, Americans bought into this perfectly packaged creation myth. You've probably heard it. The legend goes that back in 1839, this guy Abner Doubleday just invented baseball from scratch in Cooperstown, New York. Sounds great, right? Well, actually, historians have looked into it, and there is absolutely zero evidence that Doubleday created the game. I mean, the guy never even mentioned the sport in his own diaries. The legend was, well, just a legend.
Moving on to Section 2, baseball's true roots across the pond. So, if Doubleday didn't invent it, where on earth did it come from? The truth is actually a whole lot more organic. The real foundation of the sport was brought over to American shores by immigrants. Think about European playground games like rounders and cricket. Now, they didn't just stay static. American players got a hold of them and slowly started adapting them. They enlarged the field, brought in a much heavier bat, and started setting up actual structured rules. Iteration by iteration, a totally distinct new sport basically just emerged right out of the dirt.
Which brings us to Section 3, the first official rules by Alexander Cartwright. Now, every chaotic playground game eventually needs some real structure, right? Enter Alexander Cartwright. In 1845, this bank clerk stepped up and mathematically formalized the whole system. 90 feet between bases, 3 outs per inning, 3 strikes, 9 players. I mean, it just has this beautiful rhythmic cadence to it, doesn't it? These 1845 rules became the undisputed DNA of modern baseball, and they led directly to the very first official game played over in New Jersey in 1846. Official history had officially begun.
All right, Section 4, forged in the Civil War.
But look, just having rules isn't enough to make a game a massive national phenomenon. That takes a huge societal shift. And ironically, it was war that helped build America's favorite pastime. When the devastating Civil War broke out, thousands of soldiers were desperately seeking an escape. So they started playing these games in their army camps. You had guys from completely different states, guys who literally never would have crossed paths otherwise, all learning the exact same sport together.
And you can really track that incredible momentum right here. We start off with Cartwright's rules back in 1845. Then, as the Civil War wraps up in the 1860s, all these returning soldiers take the game back home, spreading it nationwide like wildfire. This sets the stage for some massive milestones. Professionalization eventually leads us to the very first World Series in 1903. And then we see profound societal shifts, like the legendary Jackie Robinson breaking the color barrier in 1947.
Next up, Section 5, the rise of the major leagues. Following that huge post-war boom, the sport truly became a full-blown industry. By the late 1800s, professional baseball had well and truly arrived. Teams were popping up all over the country, playing in these brand new wooden stadiums. And the guys on the field, they were becoming genuine celebrities. This explosive growth all culminated in 1903 with the very first World Series. But you've got to understand, this wasn't just another sports championship. It was the birth of an enduring American tradition, a real cultural touchdown that we're still celebrating today.
Let's dive into Section 6, legends who changed everything.
Of course, a sport is really only as compelling as the people actually playing it. And as the major leagues grew, the baseball diamond turned into a stage for individuals who just pushed the absolute boundaries of human potential, and societal norms, for that matter. You've got Babe Ruth, who completely revolutionized the actual mechanics of power hitting. You have Jackie Robinson, whose debut in 1947 profoundly impacted American society and equality. Generation after generation, guys like Willie Mays, Hank Aaron, Nolan Ryan, Derek Jeter, these icons didn't just play the game. They completely redefined what was possible.
Which brings us to Section 7, the modern pastime. Fast forward to today. We've moved way, way beyond the simple, dusty fields of the 19th century. To really grasp the sheer scale of the modern game, you just need to look at one number: 100 plus. Today, baseball is this massive global enterprise played in over 100 countries. Millions of fans pack into major league stadiums every single year. I mean, think about it. Every single pitch is tracked by radar, and we've got artificial intelligence analyzing the micromechanics of every single swing. It's become a highly optimized, incredibly complex global machine. And yet, despite all the AI, the massive billion-dollar stadiums, and the global reach, the absolute core of the game remains completely untouched from Cartwright's days. As this quote so beautifully puts it, a pitcher, a batter, a ball, a dream. When you strip away all the bright lights and the crazy technology, the heart of baseball is still just that really simple, incredibly intimate confrontation. So as we wrap up this explainer, I want you to really consider what this game represents. Baseball isn't just America's oldest professional sport. It's really a living reflection of the country itself. It's a story of immigrants bringing pieces of their home across the sea. It's a story of innovation, adapting those older pieces into something totally new. It's a story of equality, serving as a very real battleground for civil rights. And ultimately, it's a story of hope. From those dusty, makeshift fields to sold-out, ridiculously high-tech stadiums, very few sports have left such a permanent mark on an entire culture. Which leaves us with this final thought for you to reflect on. How did a simple playground game, with roots all the way across the pond, manage to so profoundly shape an entire nation? More than 180 years after those first rules were jotted down, that right there is exactly why baseball is and always will be America's pastime. Thanks so much for diving into this history with me today. Keep exploring and keep learning.